casinos are pretty notoriously not fun to do unless, you're doing the ballroom and it's your headlining show and you sold it out. Often casinos will do like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday show where the intention, I think, is for people to come and watch when they normally would leave so that they would gamble more later. So the venue's not really invested. The audience really isn't invested for the most part. Some casinos have good weekday shows, but they have, they care.
They just lost money. Too.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
They're in a
right?
bad mood.
They would just want to smoke indoors. And why are you talking? There's this place. I probably shouldn't say where it is. I don't know. Just a casino, but it's like pretty far out on the peninsula of Washington. And the first time I do it, it's like a clean room too, which is always so confusing because I'm like, dude, people are doing all of their vices at once right now. And you're like, don't swear though.
Yeah, don't say.
All right. And this was actually a pretty okay crowd. But what would happen was there's like 2 tiers in the audience, and it's a huge stage. It's like meant for a full rock band, and it's like 10 feet off the ground. And so they're down there, but then there's another like tier of seating up. Nobody would sit down here. They would only sit back there. And I finally was like, why is no one sitting down here? And they're like, we can't smoke down there. And I was like, what? They're like, yeah, we can only smoke cigarettes back here and not down there. So people are just smoking cigarettes, watching you, lighting matches while you're on stage, and no one is right in front of you. So you can't really hear them. So it feels like I'm not doing very well, which was actually, there was like quite a few people there now that I've worked there a few times. Mm-hmm. But I used to do a joke about having to get photos for like skin cancer. Like I had skin cancer. And so people you have to get grid photos, which is like your naked body. Like that's just to see if anything changes. And so I'm like telling the joke and I turn around always. And I, didn't really think about it. Just had turned around basically. And then a little bit later in the show, I was like, I used to wear colored pants a lot, which I still love colored pants. I just don't have as many anymore. And at the time I was single. So I was like, I'm going to die alone, probably wearing these pants. And this woman in the audience goes, well, at least they're new. And I was like, how do you know that? Like I was so confused why she would know that. And I was like, I mean, they look nice. And I was like, why do you know that? She's like, there's stickers still on the back. I was like, why didn't you say anything? Like, why didn't anybody say anything? I
was like down the side
of the thigh one. Yeah, it's like all the way down the back of my leg. And I was so embarrassed, but then just kept being like, you guys are not friends. Why did no one tell me that? Like, and nobody.
Were you embarrassed? Like, did it throw you off? Or, okay, you thought it was funny.
I thought it was funny. Well, I actually have a photo with the couple that told me, with me like holding the sticker because we thought it was so funny. So I had like, it was a silly experience, but a kind of a fun one, especially in a road room. And I was a little bit younger. I had been doing the road, but not quite as much in those rooms. You'd still get nervous at that time. Now I'm like, whatever. But so that was the first experience I had in that room. The next time I'm there are 2 people in the audience and all the way in the back like that, like nobody's sitting up front, just 2 dudes smoking cigarettes and there's no noise at all. I mean, it's not even like there's bombing when people don't like you, but then there's just like talking into a void basically. Oh, yeah. And like the staff every once in a while be like, you're doing great. And it's like, am I? What are you talking about?
Who is this for?
I'm like, why are we doing, why do I have to do this? Like most clubs are like, if there's less than 10 people, we're not going to do the show.
Yeah. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Which is so funny because I've been at a club where there was only 8 and we were like, okay, so that means we're not doing it. And the producer was like, I bought the last 2 tickets so that we can do the show. I'm like, why do you want to do this? What is wrong with you? It's in a room that fits like 150 and you're like 8 people. Cool. That'll be great.
And they feel uncomfortable.
Silent. Yes. And then you can't, like, even the most veteran person, you can't not acknowledge it. I mean, it's just weird to just be like, I'm just going to tell you my jokes and hope for the best, and like just keep talking. So at some point you have to acknowledge what's going on and just be like, this is weird. And like, there's no,
if you don't, that's like you're operating on a weird frequency, right?
It's you just talking into the mirror at that point or whatever, you know.
And
like
some people like that actually. There's a certain comic out there that it's like, oh, this is for me. You know, like there's more of me.
That's true, but yeah, and then you know, you get your $20 food voucher and have to drive back because I didn't get a hotel that night. You know, like just, oh man. And that's pretty normal with casinos. I worked at another casino the week after somebody had tried to fight the comic on stage. And I was like, this casino wasn't like this before. Like, what's going on? And at the time, it was like during COVID. Everything closed at 10 except for the casino. They could stay open. So everyone would come from every other bar in the area
just
to
hammered.
the casino, hammered, continue to get hammered, and then sit in the showroom. I mean, they were just hanging out. Like I legitimately didn't do any material, the late show for that one because it was like somebody's birthday party and they did, it was like heaven and hell themed, which is hilarious because that was like very popular in the early 2000s. Yeah. And just talked the whole time to them because it's not your show at that point, you know. It's like, yeah, it is your birthday show, I guess. We'll just see what you're up to.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's pretty cool. It's funny because you're like, oh, road stories. And I'm like, a lot of them sound the same, you know, like this happens.
Have you ever seen anybody get like hit on stage?
No. Have you?
I've
seen the videos of it.
I almost got hit, but it was
really?
It was so crazy, actually. What was the name of the spot it's right near Pike Place. Blarney Stone Pub.
Oh, okay.
There's this weird stage there where it's kind of by the door, but it's like the bar split. So like you're either in the bar or you're in the pool table room and the stage cuts it. And there's a wall that separates the two. So, like, you have to either decide if you're performing for the people at the bar or at the pool table. And this guy just fucking, as soon as we started going up there, it was like, you know, we're doing comedy now. And what's the word?
Like, no.
He was fucked up. Like, he was so hammered. And he was like 5'3". And... which was funny, like seeing how angry he was getting.
You're like, calm down, little guy.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and
I'm sure that helps.
So I'm like watching it happen, and Andy Awancio goes up and like she starts saying some stuff, and he just starts yelling slurs at her.
Oh my God.
And I saw it. I'm friends with her, and I was like, okay, this is in the back of my mind. And I go up and immediately go at him. Like, I'm like, if you're going to go at another comic and do it in that way, I'm not going to hold back against you because you're making this whole thing about you. And granted, we showed up and like ruined his game of pool, but he got so pissed at me. I think I called him a smurf or something like, and he was freaking out or whatever. And he got up in my face and he was like, closer from me to you. I mean, just right there. Everybody thought, you know, we were going to fight. And then before anything happened, the bartender just like flies out of nowhere, grabs him. He was wearing a backpack. And I remember I was like, you look adorable right now. You're wearing a backpack. And that was one of the things that really set him off. She grabbed him by the loop of the backpack. And there's a railing there. He almost took the whole railing out, and she fucking threw him out of the bar. It was amazing.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but that was the closest I've ever seen.
I had people get in a fight in the audience while I was on stage. Not like, you know.
What did you do?
Well, I just watched. It was interesting. It was, again, I was still living here so I was probably like 3 years in, and I think it was one of the first times I'd ever closed a show. It was like 20 minutes, you know, but still. And a lot of the people on the show were headliners. Like, it was just a lot. It was a Wednesday on Capitol Hill. They used to have it. It was a good show. But this guy had come in apparently, and I didn't know any of this, but he had come in and asked for time. And they were like, oh, do you know anybody? Like, you know, and he's like, no, I didn't think he'd ever done stand up. Like, he was just there to try. And they were like, oh, well, we have an open mic, you can come to that one, but this is a book show and nobody knows who you are. And every comic before me, he's just like talking shit to just like, I'm funnier than you, blah, blah, blah. Which is funny because there's like 5 comics before me and they all like, he's still there, nobody kicks him out or anything. And then by the time I'm on stage, like we go back and forth a little bit, but then he just starts like talking to the audience. Like he's not talking to me anymore and just like talking shit. And they hate him. Like the audience is really annoyed by him at this point.
Which is kind of a great feeling.
It was funny. Yeah. Cause I'm like, you're not, it was pretty obvious he wasn't like doing well in whatever his
capacity was.
Heckling vendetta was, but he, I just hear this woman yell, dude, if you don't shut the fuck up, I'm going to punch you in the dick. And I was like, oh, okay. And then he said something, and it wasn't to her, but he said something out loud. And this guy across the room gets up and he goes, dude, it's not your show. Shut the fuck up. And what was described to me by that man afterwards, he was like, he just gave me this look. I was like, what? And apparently he just like smiled at him and in a like, I'm not intimidated by you type of way. And that dude just took off across the room for him. And I'm on stage just the mic is at my side at this point, just watching this show.
Yeah, you're just an audience member at this point.
It was so weird. And then the bartender like slid in between them and like kicked that, of course, just kicked that guy out. Didn't kick the other guy out, which I thought was pretty funny. But, and then the worst part of it was like, it was really weird and I was shaken up and like, I hadn't at that point even really dealt with crowd work and hecklers type of stuff much at all.
Yeah.
And so just that was weird enough, let alone that these dudes were like fighting in the middle of the audience. And so the producers felt bad about it and just didn't like me. So they were just like, oh, we just thought we'd give you more time because that happened. And I was like, no, I was ready to get off stage,
get me out of this
like
situation.
What the fuck? And I felt like I got off stage early because I was just like, I don't know, I'm just sorry, gotta go, kind of thing. But I was supposed to do 20 and did like 27 or something. And it was just like, why didn't you? You thought that was the option to be like, oh, just don't, just let her go.
Help her out.
I mean, I was doing fine, and I kind of kept joking about it, and they were enjoying it, but it was just like, I don't want to be. I was like really kind of shaken up, I guess, because it's just a weird thing. I don't know. Yeah,
no, it's fucking weird.
And if like you have seen videos and stuff, not that I thought this dude was gonna come up and punch me, but it's just a volatile person in general being in a show. It's not really the energy you're going for.
I just make the ways, I don't write them. I can hear the lyrics in my spirit as I write them. Why you wanna walk and talk just like them? I can't get caught up in all the hype and the excitement. I just make the ways, I don't write them. I can hear the lyrics in my spirit as I write them. Why you wanna walk and talk just like them? I can't get